major news media companies coming out kind of against, I say kind of because you got to qualify this stuff right now, kind of against Kamala Harris. It's like they finally had a big wake-up call. Thank you, guys. I'm glad, better late than never. We've got, first of all, the New York Times suddenly running a series of pieces that are not exactly what you might call complimentary. Here's one piece. Joy is not a strategy. Oh, thank you very much. Patrick Healy, the deputy opinion editor, writing that, saying, he's looking for a little bit more out of Kamala Harris. We can't just be like, ha, 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 happy, 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 happy. Let me just smile and go by the mamala thing that Drew Barrymore likes to call me and call it a day. No, people actually need to know how you're going to fix some of these problems. Well, the problem being that she can't fix them. They are of her own doing. So when Politico gets mad and says, oh, it's so unfair how they're tethering her to Joe Biden, it's like, guys, it was the Biden-Harris administration. Thank you very much. Anyway, this is one. Joy is not a strategy. And let me go inside this article because he writes quite well. Harris gave us a good speech Thursday. Her love for America was overflowing. I didn't think it was that great a speech, but, that's neither here nor there. A child of immigrants' love, as a Democrat strategist, Howard Wolfson put it to me. Republicans like to tag Democrats as down on America and its history, but it was interesting that when Harris radiated pride, it was not pride as a black woman or pride as a glass ceiling breaker. It was pride as an American. You see, she had to do that. She absolutely had to do that. She was open. She was relatable. Blah, blah, blah. Repeatedly put voters first. Meanwhile, Trump apparently does the opposite because, he cares most about God, allegedly. But he writes, this is a winnable race for Harris, but she hasn't won yet. Far from it. She has been tested, really tested since Biden stepped aside. Ultimately, he writes, she needs more voters in the swing states to trust her. To trust her on, what do you think? The economy. He writes, to handle the economy better than her opponent. Barack Obama earned that trust through nearly 2 hard years of campaigning. He didn't coast on hope and change. Harris can't coast on joy. If she shows she can stand up under pressure, she can beat Trump and consign him for eternity to just playing God on Fox News. Oh, wow. Okay, so, you got to take the good with the bad here. But if you read between the lines, what he's saying is this woman, there's no there. Like, she has no campaign. She just suddenly emerged, a product of Hollywood. George Clooney anointed her, along with David Axelrod, David Plouffe. Those are the Obama guys, and Barack Obama himself. They picked her out of thin air and said, we're going to make this work. We're going to do a big old giant psych op on the American people, and they're going to get all excited about this woman because we said she is the future. Well, meanwhile, the New York Times, again, just remember who's writing this stuff. It is the New York Times. They published another piece, this one less than 24 hours ago, by Rich Lowry over at National Review, the title being Trump Can Win on Character. Character, you see. And he goes in depth about it's not necessarily personality. It's not necessarily, is he going to win this, that, husband of the year, whatever. No, it's about that people actually think that he has the character to see things through, that he wants to see things through, that he's consistent. I mean, compare and contrast with Kamala Harris, who's clearly not consistent, right? She flip-flops around all the time. Latest yet being the border, of course. Now she wants a border wall, despite having insisted she didn't previously. So this is an important thing to think about. Character, yes, in that sense really does matter. People have to believe you have the character to see things through. And then Richard Lowenstein writing in, this is also great, again, today, all right, in the New York Times, that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, he takes a dig at him too, are shedding basic economic good sense, and he attacks her policy upside one and down the other, writing that this woman basically, I'm gonna help translate for you. She's kind of dumb, okay? Forget the proposal addresses a problem that no longer exists, he writes. This is the inflation stuff because he's pointing out that food prices have since come down and that supermarkets are really getting hit on their notoriously thin margins. He said more dismaying was her seeming ignorance that price controls, almost without exception, have led to shortages, supply chain disruptions, and eventually higher prices. When Ms. Harris pledged to crack down on opportunistic offenders and restrict excessive corporate profits, she seemed unaware that exploiting opportunities for profit is exactly what enterprise intended to foster. Wow. Okay, so that's pretty tough. But you know what? Maybe they see the handwriting on the wall. Did you guys see this? We went through some of these numbers yesterday. In yesterday's Trish Regan show, I continue to harp on them because I think this is important to notice. She got absolutely no boost from that Democrat convention, no boost whatsoever. So she's still sort of dead even. If you believe the polls with Donald Trump, I think he tends to poll worse than anyone because everybody's afraid to say, oh yeah, I'm voting for him. So what you're seeing is perhaps the media responding in kind to that. They want to make sure that they look like they're doing their job because when she loses, right, they don't want to be caught flat in their feet like they were with Hillary Clinton. So maybe if they needle her a little bit and they kind of push her in this direction and that, maybe she can actually perform a little bit better. They're thinking. But here's the hard, cold truth for everyone you need to know. Kamala Harris does not have a lot upstairs. Kamala Harris is a political animal. Kamala Harris is going to do whatever it takes she thinks she needs to do to get to the finish line, which means, hey, freebies for you, freebies for you, freebies for you. And, we're going to make them all, probably if you're watching this show, pay for it. This is how she rolls.